Ever since Dana White and the UFC announced that there will be a UFC fight at the White House in 2026, we have made quite a few videos talking about the subject, and ITP MMA also uploaded this video about it. The rats have come crawling back. The thumbnail had Conor McGregor and Jon Jones. I'm excited to watch this video. I thought it would make for a perfect reaction video because this is something that we have been talking about over on the channel. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with many YouTube channels. Guys, please go show ITP MMA some love in the pinned comment description down below. Fantastic, fantastic work over there.
And I even think we're going to have a UFC fight. We're going to have, does anybody watch UFC, the great Dana White? We're going to have a UFC fight. We're going to have a UFC fight. Think of this on...
And it's crazy, to be honest with you, that they're going through with this. I know that the president, has a little bit of a history of yapping here and there, but I can't believe this is something that's been moving forward.
The grounds of the White House. We have a lot of land there. We're going to build a little... We're not. Dana's going to do it. Dana's great, one of a kind. Going to have a UFC fight, championship fight, full fight, like 20, 25,000 people. And we're going to do that as part of 250 also. We're going to have some incredible events, some professional events.
And another video that we are going to be making is the idea of whether or not this should be something that takes place at the White House. So stay tuned for that video too. There's a lot of interesting discourse surrounding this topic.
Amateur events.
All right, so let me just start this off by saying that this entire situation feels like the plot of a WWE special, except it's being led by the UFC. Just this past week, Donald Trump casually announced that the presidential White House is going to host a UFC event, which...
It was pretty casual, too. It kind of came out of nowhere, eh?
Sounds like something straight out of Saturday Night Live. And not only did Trump's press secretary double down on this claim, saying that they're dead serious on making this happen, but a UFC official also confirmed that they are in discussions with the White House about hosting a UFC event on site. So by
this is most likely going to happen with how close the president and Dana White are. And Dana White, even I just saw something on YouTube earlier today. For context, I'm recording this video on July 10th. I just saw something today with Dana White doing another podcast talking about this moving forward.
All accounts, it seems like this event is already in the works. Sure, it's a plot point that's ripped straight out of the movie Idiocracy, but the idea of watching UFC fights go down with the White House chilling in the background seems like the kind of chaotic fun that's right up my alley.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting no matter what, that's for sure. I already knew what rats he's going to be talking about. I don't know if there's going to be more than John and Connor.
I will say this, something that I have really not liked about this White House event announcement is the clout-chasing bums that it's brought out of the woodwork. The first of which is none other than Jon Jones. Yes, Jon Jones has officially unretired just 13 days after officially announcing his retirement.
Now, I wish, guys, and I'm not talking about ITP MMA because... realistically, we're all doing this as YouTubers. We're all doing this as an MMA community, but I wish everybody could collectively agree to just ignore Jon Jones. How nice would that be? Just John going, oh, I'm unretired, re-entering the USADA pool. Yeah, whatever, John. Nobody even responding to his tweets. But he's so inflammatory and, weird about everything that everybody ends up talking about it. So it'd be nice, but it's not going to happen.
Because it does look like you walked away and ducked Tom Aspinall.
It doesn't look like that. It's what happened.
Simple as that. That is what most people are thinking. Yeah, there's a lot of people giving him the benefit of the doubt, but there's a lot of people thinking he avoided the first true test at heavyweight. Somebody with well-rounded skills, with knockout power, that is younger, that is bigger, that is faster, that is agile, that can wrestle and knows jiu-jitsu.
And again, that's not, it looks like that's what happened with Jon Jones. That absolutely is what happened with Jon Jones. He's a duck.
Can do it all. The first time you came up against somebody like that, you walked away from the sport. That's not a good look.
Brock.
I don't know, man. Tom's just been such an asshole that I don't really feel like doing business with him. That's probably the reason, I think that my talents are better off against somebody who's proven at heavyweight, like Derek Lewis or even an Alex Pereira. That's a very interesting fight.
Can this guy get any more desperate and pathetic? The moment that Trump spoke this event into existence, John practically sprinted to Instagram to say that he wants back in the game. And if you really think about it, this situation is the perfect Jon Jones PR opportunity. He's gonna wrap himself up in the American flag, pretend to be the good guy for a couple of weeks, and talk about how he's such a devout Christian and such a great father while completely ignoring the fact that he's a felony with legs.
He's so gonna do that, man. That's exactly what he's gonna do. Hallelujah, my Lord. Dude, if I was Dana White, the last person I would trust in a main event is Jon Jones. With the amount of cancellations and things that's been going on with him, he just crashed another car with a girl with no clothes on, then left the scene. He's gonna do something like that again, and you seriously risk losing your UFC White House main event. He is the last guy I would ever have there.
Also, do I think it's at all a coincidence that Jon Jones happens to make his return to the testing pool immediately after Tom Aspinall confirms that he has a fight lined up who's not Jon Jones? No, I do not. Jon is such an attention-seeking narcissist that the idea of other fighters getting some shine probably drove him crazy. And hey, don't get me wrong, if Jon actually stayed even remotely active the last few years, and if he didn't retire because he was ducking Aspinall, I would be all for him fighting on this card, I really would. But
I understand that take. But I don't think it's a good idea to have such a monumental card. It's like having Jon Jones in the main event of UFC 200. Look how that ended up going. You know what I mean? I point back to this often on the channel, so I apologize for repeating myself. It's just crazy to me how somebody with the status of Jon Jones, who he is, he can walk around. He's rich. He's tall. Like he's a like fairly well built man, right? Everybody loved him for years upon years. And like Cormier said, he's somebody who's so gifted and so talented that he just constantly shoots himself in the foot. And I don't understand how somebody can walk through life. Like, you can beat up literally any person probably on this planet, but he's so insecure. And I know that's a buzzword that people like to use. I just do not understand that.
it's the fact that he's been tweeting about how he told the UFC months ago that he was done, and how he's been gloating about how he wants to make big money pursuing his other business ventures, and making it seem like the UFC is beneath him is what really annoys me about his unretirement. And as much as I really hope that Dana doesn't let Jon get what he wants here, I get the feeling that he's going to put him on the card.
Yeah, I think that's a possibility as well, but I think that's a mistake.
I think the idea of having Jon, an American, fight Tom Aspinall, an Englishman, for his former title at the White House is way too juicy of a narrative for him to pass up, and he's going to bend over for Jon yet again. I mean,
yeah, but what happens when Jon like gets into another hit and run, or even like beats up his wife again, and then you're left with Tom Aspinall? Oh, hey, Curtis Blades. And I love Curtis Blades, but like, who are they going to call? They don't have anybody at heavyweight.
From Dana's perspective, seeing as there's no American male champions on the roster these days, the next best thing would be to have Jon in the main event challenging for the title. To be fair to Dana though, I do agree that they kind of need to have an American fighter on the main event of a White House card, but the thought of Jon just weaseling his way back into a huge fight on a card like this just leaves a bad taste in my mouth, and it would be another embarrassment for Dana if he lets Jon get his way again. And
I think that was extremely well said. I don't have anything to add to that point there. Very, very well said.
Speaking of guys who can't stop embarrassing themselves, cue the return of Conor McGregor, where surprise, surprise, he's once again calling out Michael Chandler.
Now, I don't believe for a second that Conor McGregor is going to show up again, but if I was Dana White, I'd throw my money at Conor McGregor at the White House instead of Jon Jones, because at least McGregor might just pull out. You know, McGregor might get into some sort of situation, but he's not going to embarrass you the way that Jon Jones is going to embarrass you. We're not going to find Jon Jones, you know, again, beating his wife to a pulp. Or excuse me, we're not going to find Conor McGregor doing that type of thing. We might find him getting like into a bar fight or something, but it's going to be something pretty little. I would do Conor McGregor if anything.
And much like Jones, the moment that Conor heard that the UFC White House event was in the works, he immediately took to social media and posted an AI photo of him and Chandler facing off in front of the White House. And then after that, he posted a photo of his DMs where it shows Dana responding, "I love it," to 2 voice messages that Conor sent him. And then he posted another photo from his fight with Brandao, where in the caption, he talks about how good his vision is in his right eye. He ends the caption by saying that getting to fight at the White House would be the perfect way to set up his comeback to the sport. Okay, dude, this...
Yeah, the dude's not going to come back. I don't believe that either of them are going to fight. That's very important to note. But if you're going to try to sign one of them, I would do McGregor versus Chandler. At least you have Conor McGregor, who's been in the White House, close with Dana White. I mean, as close as you can get with President Trump. And you also have Michael Chandler, who is branding himself and is a all-American. Like, I don't want to say hero, but you get the point. You get the image of Michael Chandler, right?
McGregor-Chandler stuff feels so worn out and tired. Every few months, these guys will go back and forth on Twitter. Conor will post a training montage where he spars with the guys from his gym's beginner class. And of course, Chandler will talk about Conor every chance he gets, regardless of who his upcoming opponent is.
You forgot about the MMA fan base talking about, oh my God, Conor looks so accurate. Conor looks so good. Conor's taking this seriously. Looks like we actually might see him fight again.
Chandler looks like he's aged 10 years waiting for this payday. Meanwhile, Conor's busy punching random dudes in Ibiza, or promoting his new record label, or campaigning to be the president of Ireland. And I think that last part is a big reason why Conor seems so interested to be on this card. I'm not entirely sure how or why fighting at the White House would help his Irish presidential campaign, but I'm sure that in his eyes it does. I mean, he literally put "Vote McGregor" with the Irish flag at the very end of that Instagram.
You know what's funny is I didn't even notice that. Yeah. After all of that talking about his fighting skills, vote McGregor.
Post, he definitely wants to leverage the fight to help his political standing. Regardless, the weirdest and most unexpected person who's volunteered to fight at the White House is Andrew Tate. A day after Trump's announcement, Tate tweeted at Dana saying that he was interested in being on the card.
There's no way he's actually going to want to fight on this card. And what are you going to do? You're not going to give him an MMA fight, man. You're not gonna. Oh my God. And I'm not going to be, guys, I promise you, like, I keep my political opinions to myself on this channel, okay? So I ask you don't assume anything about me. I'm definitely not going to be one of those people who are going to have a mental breakdown at the idea of hearing you have to be careful now, and you have to be careful now. Voldemort, I will say, okay? Because that's enough to get YouTube, like, up and like, you know, shutting things down, okay? So Voldemort wants to fight. Have you guys ever seen Voldemort fight? If you're part of the MMA community, I'm sure you have. How bad his kickboxing is? Dude, it would be a CM Punk situation all over again.
Admittedly, is this any crazier than Brock Lesnar or especially CM Punk fighting in the UFC? I mean, Tate did compete in kickboxing for years and has a pro record of 76-9. Compare that to Brock, who obviously was a WWE superstar, but before that, he was a dominant NCAA wrestling champion.
I'm sorry if you guys can see that. So there's a bug in here. Well, that's annoying. If that flew in front of the camera, my apologies.
And he even had to win one pro MMA fight before he was signed to the UFC. But then there's CM Punk, who never competed at a high level in any sport before he joined the WWE, and then he made his combat sports debut in the UFC. I can understand why they let Brock fight in the UFC after one pro fight, but after they let CM Punk make his MMA debut in the UFC with like 6 months of training, the idea of Andrew Tate fighting in the UFC doesn't seem all that insane to me.
I understand what he's saying, but I don't think that's gonna happen. I think Voldemort here is just yapping. I think he's just yapping. I don't think he'll actually come because he has so much riding on like his toughness, and I'm a kickboxing world champion, right? I'm not saying like I'm not doubting he's a kickboxing world champion. I'm just not familiar with his accomplishments. All I have seen is, you know, I've seen him fighting. He's not going to perform in the UFC.
I'm not saying I agree with it, but I am saying that it wouldn't even be the most ridiculous signing that they've ever done. With all this being said, I don't like the idea of any of these guys fighting at the White House. I don't like it at all. You have fucking John and Connor, who both treated the UFC as an afterthought for the past few years, and now they've come out of hiding so that they can clout chase fighting on this card.
No, they don't deserve to be on the card. Absolutely not. And you have to risk of both of them embarrassing UFC by not showing up.
This event ends up happening, then I want to see fighters who have been actively competing and cutting their teeth against the current roster to get the opportunity to fight. But the shitty thing about this situation is that 1, the UFC is really lacking star power these days, and 2, money talks. And in a perfect world, the current roster would have enough big names in order to make a banger card that sells big numbers without needing Jones and McGregor, but unfortunately...
I agree, and we're definitely going to be talking about that a little bit more towards the end of the video. You know, the perfect fighters that you could have to set up a really, really, really awesome UFC White House card.
That is just not the case. If the UFC does do a White House card, then I think that they're going to end up having to negotiate with John or Connor, but probably both. It's a damn shame. The UFC has been in such a star power shortage for over a decade now, to the point where they're still desperately in need of Jones and Connor to bail them out for their biggest cards, even though they've both been such a headache to work with for a while now.
Yeah, that, and if you want to talk about Nate Diaz too, I don't think you should really get any of them, but I think the wrong thing to do, or I mean, it'd be nice, right, to have like both of them, you know, Michael Chandler versus Conor McGregor and John Jones versus Tom Aspinall on the same card. I've seen a lot of card concepts of having them both, and Conor McGregor in the co-main event. Neither one of these guys will accept a co-main event position, and I don't even think that they would for the sake of the White House, dude. There is no chance that both of these fights are happening, but I'd be down for signing both of them in case one of them falls out.
And from what I understand, Jones isn't even that massive of a pay-per-view draw, but of course the UFC's branded him as the GOAT, so they can at least market any card that he's on by saying that the best to ever do it is fighting on it. But when it comes to star power like what McGregor's known for, there's just no one on the roster that even comes close to what he has. But unless the UFC shamelessly gives him a title shot at lightweight or welterweight, which they would be out of their minds to do, I don't think that they can justify putting him on the main event.
Dude, could you imagine Conor McGregor versus Jack Della Maddalena or Ilia Topuria if they actually end up doing that? No, it's gotta be Chandler. It's gotta be. I don't mind the idea of a BMF now that he's talking about it.
I do think they can do is maybe give Connor a shot at the BMF title once we find out the winner between Max Holloway and Dustin Poirier.
That's actually a really good idea. I've never even considered that, and that could be something that could motivate McGregor a little bit to, you know, get all the belts.
And then they can have him be the co-main event on the White House card. But at the same time,
he's not going to sit as in a co-main event spot. There's no way he accepts that.
Why would Connor be considered a BMF in 2025 when the guy hasn't fought in 4 years? Listen, I don't know how the UFC can stack this card card in a way that feels exciting and novel because frankly, they don't really have a ton of chips to work with. Who are their biggest stars right now that are still active? Ilia Topuria, Islam Makhachev, and Tom Aspinall probably? Now let's just say that those guys have to face an American opponent if they were to fight on this card. So that means Ilia would be fighting Justin Gaethje or Max Holloway. If Makhachev beats JDM, then he'd probably end up fighting Sean Brady. And unless we want to see Aspinall fight Curtis Blades for a third time, then I hate to say it, but his only other option is fighting John Jones.
See, there's really nothing that you can do. They're a little bit stuck. And spoiler alert, what I'm going to be pointing you to is a card builder video that I did. I made the most realistic UFC White House fight card, a realistic card, yet the best possible fight card that you can get, and my main event was Ilia Topuria versus Justin Gaethje.
Just for the sake of this example, let's put Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler on this card as well. And again, I really don't love the idea of having John or Conor on the card, but if they're not, then there's really not much they can do to make the card feel like a big experience. But I guess at the same time, you could put guys like Henry Cejudo, Colby Covington, and Sean Strickland on the card. It'll start to feel like a bit of a political rally, but I guess that's kind of the point of
No, yeah, that is what I would want to see from a White House card. I would want to see like all of the people like really gathering around President Trump. I think that would make that for the best White House card
event in the first place. Now let's take a step back really quickly and just process how insane this entire premise actually is. Let's talk about logistics. Would there be a live crowd at this event? And if so, who gets to attend? Political figures and billionaires? Are they gonna even charge for tickets, or would this be an invite-only sort of event? And what about security? UFC events are chaotic enough in regular arenas. Now imagine trying to hold one in the front yard of the White House.
Dude, I've never thought about that. What are they gonna do, man? That's a good point. That's gonna be hell to plan.
They're going to need military-level security details, snipers on rooftops, anti-drone measures, and a plan for what happens if one of the Diaz brothers jumps the fence. And yet, as dumb
or when Nate Diaz posting a picture outside the White House, taking a piss on their property or something.
Ridiculous and fundamentally laughable as this entire thing is, I can't lie to you, I kind of love it. Not in a this is a great idea kind of way, but in a this is so stupid it's almost genius kind of way. I mean, come on, UFC fighters brawling on the White House lawn, Secret Service doing glove checks, Dana White trying to live stream the weigh-ins from the Lincoln bedroom. It's the kind of thing that makes you realize that reality is truly stranger than fiction.
I don't think it's a stupid idea. I don't think it's a crazy idea. I think it's just cool for the UFC, man. I think it's cool, but at the same time, and this is what we're going to expand upon in another video, I don't like all of these, they've been doing a lot of things like this with the White House. And I would prefer that not to be the case, but with and I don't want to say clown show, and I don't mean that for any of the positions in power right now. That's not what I'm talking about. Again, I keep my political opinions myself, but I mean, with the clown show that's been the political state of the world, I think that we might as well just do this.
At the end of the day, no matter how ridiculous this event might be, you can't say it isn't perfectly in line with what the UFC has become lately. It is a circus that knows it's a circus and is doubling down on being the most chaotic freak show on earth. And if they are going to lean into the spectacle, they might as well go all the way. It's idiotic, it's dystopian, it's irresponsible, but if it's just for this one time, then I say let's do it. Anyways, that is the video for today. Definitely let me know what you think about the UFC's White House card.
And I think it's cool, man. I think it's cool, and I thought that was a very well done video. ITP MMA makes some of the best MMA videos out there, guys. And I think, as usual, it was a very balanced take, very understandable. I don't think that Conor McGregor or John Jones will ever show up, and I wouldn't trust either of them to show up. That's really the only, not feedback to this video, but I think that's the only part where I really hard disagree. But the title of the video is for sure accurate. The rats have definitely been come crawling back. So we did, like I said, make a video talking about the best fights to make, the best possible card and most realistic card that you can make for the UFC White House. You can check it out right here. I'd love to have you over there. Thank you very much for watching the video, everybody. Take care, guys.